guys, my name's Heather. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I normally post. When I say this, I haven't posted in like a year. But today's video is going to be about books. So I love to read, and I have been seeing a lot of recommendation videos on YouTube and on TikTok and even like Facebook and stuff. I decided I wanted to share some of the books that I've been reading, maybe recommend a couple, share what I've been up to this January. So first I'm just gonna go through all the books that I read. I'm gonna give you some stats, I guess, and then we can go into what I'm currently reading and what I hope to read in February. So I have my little book journal here. It's a digital one, and so if I look down, or if I look, somewhere else, that's why. Starting off, I started this book back, I don't know, maybe like last August. I've been reading this book for like months, okay? And that is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. It took me a while to read it. I just was kind of in like a reading slump for a while, and it was just a lot to take in. Not that it's not like hard to digest or anything like that, but I don't know, I couldn't get into it right away. But then I picked it back up like, I don't know, January 9th maybe, and read the rest in like 3 days. And I was only like halfway through when I started in January. So I gave this 4.5 stars. Part of why I didn't give it 5 stars is because it took me forever to read. And so, but I think that was more of a me thing than the book. Originally gave it 4 stars, and that's because I was very angry. Oh, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but like throughout this whole video. But I was very angry with how a certain relationship panned out. Yeah. If you've ever read the book, or even if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But in case you don't know what this book is about, if you've never heard of it, it's the story of these 4 sisters. We have Meg, Jo, Amy, and Beth, and they are the Little Women, and it goes through their life. I think it's from like the late 1800s, I want to say, that it was written. We see loss, we see birth, we see love, heartbreak, and of course, some sisterly love. So there's the one and only Laurie, who is their next door neighbor, and you kind of see his relationship with the women and how that pans out. So like I said, I don't want to give away too much, but I will say there is a movie that came out, I think it was 2019, so 2-3 years ago. And as soon as I finished the book, I watched the movie, and that kind of bumped up my rating on the book, as crazy as that sounds, because I loved the movie. Like, the movie was so good. It has such good actors and actresses in it. Like, I loved everyone. Florence Pugh, Timothée Chalamet, even Meryl Streep was in it. And just all the people that are in it really are great. I love the movie, and I thought it did a great job of telling the story. And once it kind of wrapped everything up, I was like, you know what, I did really enjoy that story, even though it did take me a while. Well, okay, you have to imagine this is in the late 1800s, so there was a certain role for women, and this book kind of goes in a different direction, and kind of what would happen if that wasn't the case. In some ways, you'll see. My favorite part is probably Laurie, but I just love the relationship between all of the girls, all of the sisters. And I also love the language that everyone used. Like, it's kind of outdated in one way, but it's also very comforting, I guess you can say. I feel like I've been talking about this book for way too long. I promise the other books won't be quite as long. So after Little Women, I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And if you haven't seen this book, then I guess you haven't really been on BookTok or BookTube I should say, but that's okay. And I will say, it's hyped up for a reason. This was This was a 5-star read for me. This is by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who, this is the first book I've read by her, but I have Malibu Rising and Daisy Jones and the Six, and I am definitely looking forward to reading those. Basically, this book is about Evelyn Hugo, who is this movie star, or at least she was a Hollywood movie star, you know, during like the 60s and 70s, I want to say. And she's had a very scandalous but also glamorous life, and basically because there was so much scandal around her life, you know, in the spotlight, she never really got to share her version of her story. So this is her version. And so she enlists Monique, who's this girl. She is a writer, a journalist, to write her story. Throughout the telling of her life, you see the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo, what each of them meant to her, and it just goes through like her love life, but also her personal life. And I feel like I'm not doing it justice to describe what this book is about. It's beautiful. I really don't want to say too much because I went into it blind. Like, I had no idea what the book was about. I just knew that it was this woman in a green dress on the cover. But there is a plot twist. You're very intrigued. You want to know more about this woman. Like, what makes her so special? Why did she have such a long career? I cried. I laughed. Oh, and the chapters are very short, which I loved. You know, there's obviously a lot more chapters in that case, but I loved because you get to the end of one chapter and you're like, wait, let me just, I'll just read one more. And then before you know it, you're done with the book. So yeah, that was another read of mine for January. Oh, so this month, my sister very graciously bought me a Kindle. If you follow me on TikTok, which you should, I posted a little unboxing of me getting the Kindle Paperwhite. I was against the Kindle, not that I was against it, but I was like, no, I'm a hard copy kind of girl. I don't think I'm gonna get into the Kindle. Like, I love having the books on my bookshelf, but I have not put this thing down, okay? The good thing about it is that even if you want to have books on your bookshelf, you can get the digital copy for like $2-3 for most books, or maybe not for most books, but for a lot of the books. Or if you have Kindle Unlimited, you get books for free. And another thing I discovered, which actually my mom told me about, was that you can get digital copies of books from your local library and read them on here. So it's almost kind of silly in a way, but I will be renting digital copies from my library and reading them off my Kindle, even when I have the hard copy, if I can. I mean, I'll still read hard copies, you know, till the day I die, but it's just so much more convenient. It's like very light in your hands. You can read it when you're going to bed. There's a, you know, it has like the lighting, like it has a light. You can travel with it. Definitely recommend. So the reason I started talking about that is because the next book that I read was on the Kindle, and that was Layla by Colleen Hoover. It was a free book on Kindle Unlimited, and let me start by saying I love Colleen Hoover. Like, I read a couple of her books like years ago, and absolutely loved her as an author, as a person. She's hilarious. I say as if I know her. I just know her on like social media. This book wasn't my favorite. It definitely was very intriguing. I did read it in like a day and a half. I gave it 3 stars, and I'll tell you why. Well, first I'll tell you what it's about. So this is a story of this guy named Leav who meets a girl named Layla at her sister's wedding. They fall in love, everything's great and dandy for about 2 months, and then Leav has a stalker who is an ex-girlfriend who comes to wreak havoc on his life, I guess you can say. There's an accident, and Layla ends up suffering brain damage. It kind of goes through their journey post-accident. Turns out there's more to the story. There's kind of a paranormal twist that I wasn't expecting from Colleen Hoover, because all the other books I've read by her are romance novels. I definitely didn't hate the book, just certain things felt a little rushed, like there's a little bit too much of like an insta love deal. Oh, and Leads, like, I was not really a fan of. Like, you want to like him, but he's really just like a jerk. Like, you see like how he treats Layla. Like, I don't want to give away too much, but I wasn't a fan of him. You'll see why if you read this book. But if I had to recommend a Colleen Hoover book, it definitely wouldn't be this one. So I'll leave it at that. After Layla, I read A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tillie Cole, also on the Kindle. I thought it was very cute. It was a very cute read. It was very sad. I cried like from the beginning to the end. It's a childhood friends to lovers romance book. And it's the story of this boy named Rune and a girl named Poppy. And they become best friends at 5 years old. Rune ends up moving away, and it kind of goes through how that move and how something that goes on in Poppy's life puts a strain on their relationship. You know, by the time they're like 15, they have gone through a lot. Like, everyone's feelings are valid, no matter what age you are. It just felt like a lot to picture for like 2 15-year-olds. I don't know. Yeah, in my little review, I was like, maybe I'm just getting old. Because I said, like, I some parts felt a little unrealistic, but it was very wholesome, and I'd recommend, especially if you're a teenager. And you'll see why it's called A Thousand Boy Kisses, which I thought was super cute as well. After A Thousand Boy Kisses, I read probably the most anticipated book of this month, and that was another Colleen Hoover book that you can probably guess if you are into romance novels, and that was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, like I said. This is a bold statement, but this may have been my favorite book of the month. I don't know, between Evelyn Hugo and this one, it's hard. It's up there. Definitely 5 stars all the way. This book, if you haven't read it yet, just go and pick it up. Go read it. This is the story of a woman named Kenna, and she just got out of prison. She was in prison for 5 years. She had a baby girl while she was in prison, like the first few months that she was in prison, so she got pregnant prior to being in prison, if that makes sense. When she gets out, she wants to reunite with her daughter, and so she goes back to the town where her daughter is, and she tries to reunite with her, but it just seems like everything is getting in the way. Oh, I should probably mention there was an accident that killed Scotty, which was the father of the baby. So now the baby is with his parents, and they really don't want Kenna back in their life or in the daughter's life. So Kenna ends up meeting this guy named Ledger. That's kind of where the romance comes in. But without giving too much away, you'll see kind of how Ledger is part of her daughter's life. Let's just say that the romance that ensues may not be the best thing in terms of getting her daughter back. That was a terrible way of explaining this amazing book. Oh, this was, as you can tell, this was the first book that I've ever annotated. And I know some of you are screaming at me like, how did you do that with the tabs sticking out so far? Which I thought was funny, but it was the first time, okay? Granted, I did it again with another book that I'll show in a minute, but yeah, it was my first time, okay? Don't yell at me. I annotated it, and I'm so happy I did, because there were so many cute parts and so many sad parts, and all around a great read. There's romance, but it's not only romance. It's very sad, but you'll see there are happy parts. Okay, there are happy parts. The character development was great. I loved so many of the characters, even like the minor characters. The dual point of view, so it goes from Kenneth to Ledger's point of view. And there's also letters. So I know some people really like to read letters. Sorry if you can hear my cat. She's like got the zoomies over here. Yeah, so there's letters. I know some people really enjoy reading letters in novels. 5 stars. Okay, so after that, I wanted something a little less sad. I wanted something a little different, a different kind of feel. So I went back on my Kindle and I found, well, I didn't find this book, but it came up in like my suggested reads. It's called Hooked. Hooked as in like are hooked. By Emily McIntire. It's part of a series, and I think her goal for this series is to kind of give Disney villains their own love story. And so this one is the first one of the series, and it's basically the story of Hook getting his redemption and his love. It's not like a fairy tale by any means. It's like modern day telling, but there are a lot of mentions of things that would have been in Peter Pan. So like there's a club called the Jolly Roger, and there's like a boat called the Tiger Lily and stuff. So I thought that was really fun. But this book, I give 3.5 stars. Okay, I did enjoy it. It's definitely a dark romance. The spice is good, but again, it's very dark. So if you're gonna read this, just be prepared for that. There's a little bit of like a mafia plot line, and I haven't really read too many mafia romances. I don't know. I don't know if I like it yet. I have to read some more. Yeah, the main reason I decided to pick this up, besides the fact that I love Peter Pan and Captain Hook, was because I saw Larry Reid's or Larissa here on YouTube mention it, and how she pictured Killian from Once Upon a Time as Captain Hook. And if you've ever seen Once Upon a Time and you have seen Captain Hook or Killian, you know that he's beautiful. And so I was like, no, like if that's what he looks like in my mind, then I gotta read this book. So I felt like there could have been a little bit more character development. I did read it in less than 24 hours, so I obviously didn't hate it that much, but I'm just kind of like meh about it. Nothing like too crazy, but not terrible either. Then I read Anxious People by Fredrik Backman, right? Yeah, Fredrik Backman. This I did enjoy. I gave this one 4 stars. It's very funny, I will say that. I thought it was very unique. It starts off as a bank robbery, and then it kind of turns into a hostage situation. But it's kind of not about any of those things. And you'll see what I mean if you read this. It kind of goes into the story of each of the people that are held hostage, you could say. We kind of see how they're connected, but also how they have like their individual stories. And you'll see a lot of it has to do with mental health, which I thought was very, not unique, but very, the way it was told was very unique, which makes sense when you consider the title, Anxious People. It was very quirky too. I liked that. In the beginning, like 30% or so, it felt very repetitive. That was kind of part of why I left out the 1 star. It was almost like frustrating how repetitive it was getting. Like I wanted to just see like what happened, but I also think that was part of the author's goal. So I can't get too mad about that. That's just like the style. I said in my review that he repeatedly refers to everyone as idiots, and he certainly makes them look it. So I thought that was funny. I would say there are some triggering topics, so if you are gonna read this, look up the trigger warnings. Also, I didn't really love any, like I wasn't like obsessed with any particular character. They just kind of were all annoying, but again, I think that was part of the goal. So that was this one, Anxious People, 4 stars. After that, I read a poetry book, so switching it up a little bit, and that is The Gift of Everything by Leav. And I have a couple other of her poetry works, books, and I really do enjoy all of her poetry. A lot of it is very sad and depressing, but it's very almost comforting because you can relate, I guess. The little is my house alarm, so if you hear that, I'm sorry. So yeah, I also annotated this one, and by annotate I just mean I put little tabs on the poems that I enjoyed. Yeah, 4 stars. Most of them are about love, some loss, some self-empowerment. They're all written very nicely. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars, certain things I couldn't relate to, like I'm not in a relationship, so that part I couldn't relate to. Part of why I picked it up is because I love how it would look on my bookshelf. Like, how pretty is it? Look at that. Look at that. Okay, almost done. I feel like this is taking a while. So, like I said, after I read those 2, I decided to pick up the second book in that Never After series, and this one was called Scarred, and that's by Emily McIntire as well. Again, another dark romance. This one is about Sarah and Tristan, and Tristan is a Fossa brother. Michael, his brother, is the king of their country, and so Sarah is supposed to marry Michael, but she has, it's kind of she has like hidden plans, a hidden motive of why she's gonna marry him. Well, it's like arranged, but she has other plans. You'll see if you read this. You have Tristan, like I said, who is tired of living in his brother's shadow, and he decides he has some ulterior motives as well. However, both Sarah and Tristan's plans get a little ruined because they end up meeting, and the rest of the book is about their relationship. This one I gave 4.5 stars because I liked it a lot. Like the spice was good. Again, very dark, so just keep that in mind. Oh, it was definitely a slow burn, okay? So I got frustrated because I was like, come on, like, do something already, like, but I think in the end it was worth it. There was a bit of a twist which I enjoyed. I believe this one is a retelling of The Lion King because it's like the Fossa brothers and like Mufasa and like, I don't know. It really had nothing to do with The Lion King as far as I can remember. I haven't seen The Lion King in God knows how long. I really loved how like strong-willed Sarah was. Like, I thought she held her own, and even though she had like some challenges, she stayed true to herself, and for the most part until Tristan walked in. And part of me wanted more spice, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely prefer this one to the previous one. If you are looking for any recommendations from Kindle Unlimited, I would say this was a good series. Okay, and then the last book I read this month was Twisted Love by Huang. Sorry, Anna. Again, this was on Kindle Unlimited. I liked this book. It was 4 stars for me. And basically it's the story of Ava and Alex. Ava's brother is leaving the country to go on like a mission trip to South America, and he wants to protect his sister, so he asks one of his best friends, so yeah, best friend's brother, no, brother's best friend, to keep an eye on Ava. And yeah, it's very much grumpy sunshine, one bed trope, forced proximity, well, kind of forced proximity. Of course, they have amazing chemistry, but they both have faced a lot of family trauma, and that kind of threatens to interfere with their relationship. And so there are lies, there's betrayal, but there's also hope and beauty and love. And no, I liked it a lot. Yeah, like Alex, he was hot. And I know he's not the best guy, but like I enjoyed reading about him. You'll see he like calls her Sunshine, and so that kind of adds to the whole grumpy sunshine aspect. But I love that. I just loved every time he called her Sunshine. Like I thought that was so cute. There's Spice is great. Ava had gone through a lot in her life, and I thought she stayed positive, and you see she works through her fears. She doesn't need no man to do that. So yeah, I wrote in my little review that I can't wait for the next one, which goes into what I'm currently reading, and that is Twisted Games, also by Huang, on my Kindle. And I am only like 30% through so far, but it's the story of a princess of Eldora named Bridget, and her bodyguard. So it's like a forbidden romance, bodyguard romance, definitely grumpy sunshine, dual point of view, and oh yeah, this other one was dual point of view as well. And representation, I enjoyed that. The main character in Twisted Love is an Asian American, so I thought that was cool. I know some people like Twisted Games more than Twisted Love, and if that is the case, then maybe it'll be a 5-star read for me. So I just wanted to share some stats with you guys. I thought that would be fun because I tried to write down about how long I read each day, and it's pretty accurate because I would like write down on my phone when I started reading and then when I stopped and so on. So I originally said I wanted to read 5 books this month, and I ended up reading 10, probably 11 by the time I finish Twisted Games. I said I wanted to read 1,000 minutes this month, which I know is like a weird statistic, I guess, but I ended up reading 2,705 approximately minutes this month, and I started on January 9th. I don't really know what I was doing from the 1st to the 8th, but I didn't read. I started January 9th. Today is the 30th, which comes out to over 45 hours this month, which is about 128 minutes a day, or just over 2 hours a day. And that's the calculations that I came up with. And so I thought that was really cool, especially because there's another day and a half of the month. I figured that I would probably hit the 48-hour mark, which means if I was reading nonstop, it would be for 2 days straight. So I don't know, I thought that was cool. I don't think that you have to read that much, or like I don't think if you read more or if you read less there's anything good or bad about that, but I just thought it would be cool to share with you guys my my reading goals and how much I read. In terms of next month, I'll just show you real quick books that I ended up getting in the past few weeks and which ones I want to read. I'm not going to go through descriptions or anything. I'm just going to show them to you. The first one is My Policeman by Bethan Roberts. I picked this one up because Harry Styles is going to be in the movie later on this year. And then 2 Colleen Hoover books, Heart, Bones, and November 9, because I love Colleen Hoover. And then I picked up 2 Christina Lauren books, but I don't know if the other one just didn't come yet. I honestly have no clue, but this one is the Unhoneymooners, and I believe the other one was Love in Other Words. So I'm hoping to get to all those in February. We'll see. But if you are interested in seeing if I do, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!